And now,
it's 10 a.m.
Let's just get down to it.
And it's time for your sports fix.
Strap yourselves in, folks.
From two guys who have covered the teams you're passionate about for years.
We are professionals.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone. Ben Anderson, David James, sticking around for the next segment. What's up, DJ?
I think there's a lot of things going on in the world of your Utah Jazz. I think you and I are about to just go Jazz nonstop. Let's do it.
Yeah, this was a very busy morning for the Utah Jazz. And Chandler Holt, who does the Jazz Notes podcast with me, as well as David James. Chandler's going to come in from 11 to 12, so excited to have a...
So you have a podcast up every Monday and every Thursday. With different tag team partners.
And then we talk Jazz basketball with Jake every day.
And people can get it on YouTube and KSLSports.com.
Whatever you're looking for.
Apple, Spotify, it's everywhere.
We have it for you.
And go.
So, big news today, big news this morning. Chris Haynes broke the news, did some background, and kind of got some information on it as well. Jaren Jackson Jr. is undergoing surgery on his knee to remove what is essentially a tumor, a benign tumor on his knee called PVNS, to make sure it doesn't grow, continue to grow and get worse, because it is something, I guess, that will just continue to grow and grow and grow, which can cause discomfort. It is not... In my understanding, and this always changes. You go into the knife, it's always a risk. Look at Grant Hill's career, got derailed by bad surgeries. It's happened before. Penny Hardaway, I think, had foot issues based on a bad surgery, etc. You never want to go into the knife if you don't have to. I did not get the impression in my conversations today that this was a enormous concern, and if it was, I don't think he would have played 3 games for the Jazz before he had it done.
It sounds like, and what do I know about medicine? I went to UC Santa Barbara. But it sounds like this is roughly equivalent of getting some type of quote-unquote minor cartilage surgery.
Yeah.
This is the kind of thing, they'll do it. He'll need time to rehab. I don't know where it is in the knee, how deep in they're going, how close it is to the surface. But you get your 4 to 6 to 8 weeks to bounce back from whatever it is, depending on how big the tumor is and where exactly it is inside the knee and how much digging they have to do. But then it sounds like you ought to be okay.
Chris Haynes, who did report it, kind of initially, and some of the news out there is that the expectation is that Jaren Jackson Jr. will be out for the season. I was informed that that's yet to be determined.
Oh, really?
So
if it is on that shorter end, he could be back.
But using our brains, I would say that's probably not likely. Understanding that after the All-Star break, and he's going to get the surgery next week, after the All-Star break, there's going to be less than 2 months left in the season. I think the Jazz's final game of the year is April 13th, so that's 2 months from tomorrow. If it is 6 weeks and he doesn't get the surgery till next week, now you're at 7 weeks and now there's 1 or 2 weeks left in the season. And why would you bring him back, especially when the Jazz certainly have no interest in winning games?
You have the surgery, you have the hall pass, shut him down for the year.
Yeah.
But I remember in the Dennis Lindsay era, they had a couple players who had to have surgery later and then they referred to lost summers. And it doesn't sound like, and I guess we'll have to wait to the other side of surgery and see what they say, but it doesn't sound like that's going to be the case.
No, it doesn't. And it does make sense. I was talking to Jaren, not off the record, but kind of just off to the side after the game last night and trying to figure out what his all-star plans were. And, are you looking for a home? And he joked with me that he was living in Lowry Markkinen's guest room, and that's obviously not true, but he said that's where he's been living. And he wouldn't give me an answer about what he was doing during the all-star break. And that makes
because it was surgery, and he didn't want to tell you.
And he was not going to reveal that to me. It is also why you have to go and talk to guys, though, during it. Maybe he would have told me.
Yeah,
you just never know. This is my first time I ever met him. I get why he didn't. But, so, yes, I don't get the impression, if Jazz fans see knee surgery, that this is, the Jazz got, the short end of the stick
damaged
from
goods
Memphis.
And, the short end of the stick,
and then Memphis knew they were getting rid of somebody that was going to be, toxic going forward or unplayable going forward. In fact, my big question now, and I was not able to get an answer on this in any conversations, was the Jazz say they found this in the physical. I've got no reason not to believe them. And actually the reason I kind of have no reason not to believe them is that if Jaren was going to miss the rest of the year with the surgery, couldn't Memphis have just held on to him, tanked, traded Ja Morant this offseason, and still had their 26-year-old all-star to leap or jumpstart their rebuild with whoever their draft pick is this year?
Well, I can't really speak to what Memphis is doing and why they are doing it. I was a little surprised when the Jazz made the trade. I happened to be driving around listening to you and Jake, and I heard it when it broke, literally, and I could hear the surprise in your voice. And I remember thinking, I did not see that coming, and I feel better about myself because Ben didn't see it coming either. So we both talked to people, and we didn't see it coming. I'm not 100% sure why Memphis wanted to do it, but I'm sure they had their reasons,
Absolutely.
He signed. I don't get it. I don't see the downside. I do get that, hey, we're breaking up this group and we're starting over. There are
like
people
a total start over.
Well, that to me, because I think you're right. I mean, when they can find a taker for Jaw, he will go. And they got 3 draft picks. Now, I've heard a lot of debate from people who I don't think have a foot in either camp. I'm always careful. Like I'm here and I'm, seeing things through my purple glasses or my green glasses or whatever. Well, no, it's more me that the built-in bias we don't realize we have, but that we inevitably have to have, right? I have way more information about the Jazz than I have about Memphis. And I did think, well, they want these 3 draft picks, but there were people analyzing the trade who said, hey, the Jazz have already done the homework on the 27 draft. It's not nearly as good as these last 3 drafts. This is not a great trade for Memphis. Well, why is Memphis doing this? And maybe Memphis just made a bad move. Maybe, or maybe Memphis is looking at some of the Jazz young guys and thinking, we're doing a rebuild. We can get multiple guys, multiple picks. That 31 pick, who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
And maybe that pick might be traded 3 or 4 more times before someone finally uses it in 2031.
Yep.
Who's to say? And maybe they'll get somebody good in 27. Even in bad drafts, there's occasionally good players.
Yeah, Giannis came out of the worst draft of all time. Rudy Gobert came out of the worst draft of all time.
Yeah, I do wonder why they did it. I'm not 100% clear on that.
The one thing Memphis has done consistently well, not to reanalyze what happened last week because we can talk about the knee surgery and what that means for the Jazz the rest of the season, is that Memphis has consistently hit grand slams with their draft picks. Not just singles, doubles, home runs, like grand slams. They find Desmond Bane at the end of the first round.
Get 3 picks and you got to restart, and they're figuring how long it's going to take, and they're looking at his age, and they're just thinking, so I don't know that the knee surgery in half a season would play into whatever they were weighing. I mean, from a distance, I did assume it's a total teardown. They'd rather have the picks, that he's going to be a lot younger than the guys, or a lot older than the guys are going to bring it in, and then it makes it hard to tank. I mean, we're seeing with the Jazz. It's great the Jazz got Markkanen, but it's made rebuilding difficult, and it's why they're picking, in an 8, 9, 10 slot instead of picking in a 2, 3, 4, 5 slot.
Absolutely. No question about it. And
it's been hard to hide him. And I think it's why they've taken so much heat in the last couple of days, whereas the Wizards and the Kings are both clearly tanking, are taking little to no heat because people accept, well, they're just terrible. But the Jazz are actually pretty good and have Markkanen. And so, they're standing up a little taller. They're a little easier to see what's going on.
Jazz slowly lowered themselves into the boiling water and last year hit the peak. Last year they finally only won 17 games. Again, if you go back and just look at their record at the trade deadline, the first 2 years of this rebuild, 2022-23, 2023-24, I think the Jazz the first year were 26-27. And the year after that were like 23-25.
10-3 that first year.
Yeah.
It's like, where's the rebuild? These guys, and Danny Ainge has asked about it. I'm pleasantly surprised and privately horrified.
Yeah, mortified by what's happening here. So this does obviously serve the purpose for the Jazz, though, that now sitting on 18 wins, they have eclipsed their win total last year.
Yes, they have, but I don't know that this does serve the purpose, but I don't think it completely serves the purpose. I think they've got to sit.
Well, Lowry's going to sit a bunch.
Yes, but I think they got to sit more people than that.
I think Keontae's going to sit a bunch.
Nurkic has got to sit a bunch.
Yeah, Nurkic has got to sit a bunch.
I'm not past, and I wasn't joking when I tweeted it out. I know tone doesn't come across in a printed word, but they have to consider sitting 8 guys. Now, maybe they don't need to sit them all at the same time, but Sacramento sat 6 of their top 7 scorers. It was not an accident. They didn't need to do that. But I think the Jazz need to think like that. I don't know that with these watered-down teams, with people not playing hard because they're getting ready for the playoffs, or people not playing hard because they're tanking, plus they've got 6 games against teams that are just atrocious. Like Isaiah Collier will win games. Ace Bailey will win games.
Yeah.
Bryce Sensabaugh can win games. So I think they have to think about that. I think honestly, they need to look at sitting their top 8, and I think Harkless needs to play.
I don't know if you're going to see Lowry Markkanen at home anymore.
I get that.
Because you don't have to.
He
doesn't have to.
Hey, listen, everybody's gone through 3.5 years of this. Don't bail out on me with 27 games left.
It's actually
like, stay committed here, people.
For all the nonsense that we've heard from Bobby Marks and now Brian Windhorst yesterday, and just talking about how egregious and unfathomable what the Jazz
it's totally
are doing. Yeah, I totally get it. In a sense, as silly as this is, you do owe it to your fans now, if you put them through 3.5 seasons of hell, to not pull the ripcord right as you're about to get the best pick in the best draft.
I don't mind the Jazz being criticized for what they're doing.
Sure.
You can blast the Jazz all day long, but don't blast just them. Yeah, come on.
Yeah, of course.
Look what's going on around the league. And I don't see how playing somebody 20 to 25 to 27 minutes and then tanking, how is that worse than playing somebody 0 minutes and tanking?
Well, yeah, what's a better experience? If you were in Miami, that you got to see Jaren Jackson and Lauri Markkanen play, or that now you don't get to see Jaren Jackson Jr. play? What's a better experience? I mean, if you say it's just him sitting, because I think that makes it more authentic that the Jazz are bad at basketball, that's fine. That can be your opinion. But if you're a 12-year-old who just likes the NBA and knows the 10 biggest stars or the 25 biggest stars, and you go see the player,
jersey you have and who you love,
then you got to see your player, and now you don't get to see him. So, yes, the Jazz the rest of the way have some huge games. The 3 biggest will be against New Orleans. 2 of those are at home coming up on the 26th and the 28th. That actually is advantageous. I know you would think, oh, no, you want to play them on the road. The problem with having both Jaren and Lauri Markkanen is they were having to abide by the player participation policy because they're all-stars.
Boom.
And
once you're an all-star,
rest 2 all-stars in the same game, even if you're at home. Well, now you're not resting Jaren Jackson Jr. He's out with an injury.
Yeah.
You are allowed to rest Lauri at home as need be, meaning every home game you can rest Lauri if you want to, and I strongly suspect that's what you're going to see for the most part. Does that mean of the Jazz's final 15 home games, or however many there are, they're not going to see him at all? I doubt that. But the games that the Jazz want to lose, including tonight against Portland,
I'm just going to say, though,
I would be surprised if we see him.
If he plays 0 home games, I'm not going to complain. Not a peep out of me.
Yeah.
Other people may complain.
Sure.
But I honestly, they put everybody through 3.5 years of this. Well, you can't even say what it is. We all know what it is, but the FCC still has rules.
Yeah.
There's very few rules left, but that's one of them. I can't say some of these
You can
words.
say it's hell. It's been hell.
That was
You're
a
a Jazz
masterpiece of dog shit.
Yes. Thank you. Well done. Chicho. Way to go, Christian. Yes. So
Sorry I don't call you Chicho.
that was a PK nickname when Chicho was here.
Yeah.
Chicho Ranga is playing for and Pablo came on. Pablo Mastriani, the head coach, and Chicho was filling in, and PK dropped that, and Pablo just about dropped the phone. He thought that was just about the funniest thing. So even though the players moved on twice now, San Jose don't want him either. Go on, move along.
But yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of the depths of the rotation for the Utah Jazz. I think you're going to see a lot of how they've closed games, and that means Isaiah Collier.
I just don't think that's enough. I think these guys are too good. They've been getting better.
They have been.
And now the league around them is getting worse. And I think it's going to equal wins. It already has once. Now, they only had to play the fourth quarter. They could make them play the whole second half. They can play the whole game. They got to play the Wizards twice.
Sure.
I think
those are the games you're going to see.
I think Collier and Bailey and Sensabaugh can go out there and take it to the Wizards.
Yeah, they can.
Not just win the game, win it convincingly.
Yeah, they can, especially if you're playing teams like you saw from Sacramento last night,
Sacramento
which has
was
nobody.
bad, and then they sat literally everybody anybody had ever heard of, except for DeRozan.
But the Jazz now have the ability to do that.
Do you think that DeRozan has some kind of bonus stat he's trying to hit? Or, because they can have it for games played, and I don't know his contract, I haven't looked. Or do you think he pissed somebody off in the organization and they're making him play, and everybody else gets to take the game off?
DeMar is a weird person in a great way. He's really beloved. Every coach who's ever worked with him, including Will Hardy, just raves about him as a person.
So maybe he just wants to play.
I just think he likes basketball.
I just want to play.
Yeah, I like
There's
basketball.
There's a game. There's people.
Yeah.
Let's play. Let's make
go
a
play.
move
This
on.
is what I want to do.
I want to hit some shots.
I think that's part of it.
That's what it is?
I think
okay.
he just likes playing
Because
basketball.
I thought it was really odd. Big 6 guys out.
Yeah.
He's playing. I was looking at their leading scores. Of their top 8 scorers, they sat 6. They traded 1. And DeRozan.
Yeah. It's a little bit of, Colin Sexton. You couldn't get Colin Sexton off the floor.
Yeah.
Just wired. Some of these guys just want to play. And so they'll say,
Well,
we're not
we
going to win
complain
with
about
you.
the guys who don't want to play. Let's
Yeah, of
not
course.
complain about the guys who do want to play.
I applaud every veteran who wants to play in games for the worst team in basketball, who's on a 14-game losing streak and has to own it and has to talk to the media after. If you play, you have to talk to the media after if the media requests you. And, of course, that's who they're going to want to talk to because he's the star on the team that's available. So I do definitely tip my cap to DeMar. Yes, now without Jaren Jackson Jr., the Jazz make it a lot easier on themselves to tank And yes, they're going to play a lot of the young guys. And then, yes, they will start playing the Blake Hinsons, the Oscar Sheboys, and the Elijah Harklesses of the world, I would imagine.
Blake Hinson. Let's go, Blake.
Yeah.
Let's go, Blake. I'm curious what you think of the two other guys that got in the trade with John Conchar and Vince Williams Jr. As you try to plot going forward, and there's going to be a draft pick and who knows what moves this summer, there's a chance those guys are rotation guys and help them, especially in a league where I think now you used to look at 8-man rotations, and now you're resting people and back-to-backs and guys get hurt. You better be planning on playing 10 or 11 guys over the course of a season. Doesn't mean they'll play every night, but they got to be ready to play on the nights they're needed. Have they found a little something there? I don't want to oversell it, but have they found a little something in either one of those guys? What do you think?
I need to do some background on this.
Sure,
and I tried to last night, and I honestly just didn't have time and the right opportunities to ask people. But I want to know, did the Jazz request Vince Williams Jr. and John Conchar in the trade, or did Memphis say you have to take these players because they're going to help us win games late? And it may have been a little bit of A, a little bit of column B. So that's what I'm trying to find some background on. I definitely think that's what falls under the category of pre-agency, which is you go into the offseason with money and you have to go chase these guys on the open market, or you can trade for them before you get to that point, and then you're not competing with anybody to, see the price go up. So I think this is a great opportunity to audition these guys. John Conchar is under contract next year. And while I will just say I have not seen it through the first 3 games of why he plays. If you look at the last 7 seasons, he plays every game for the Memphis Grizzlies. And the Memphis Grizzlies are making the playoffs most of those years. So why do they like him so much? I haven't seen it through the first 3 games, but clearly coaches see something that that guy has to be on the floor. He helps us win.
I think he plays hard.
He does play hard.
And I think
absolutely.
that alone could be it. I don't think, to your point, I don't think there's anything from a talent perspective, but it sounds like a cop-out, and they're making so much money, and they fly on charters, and I get all of that, but it's still to bring the energy on a night you don't feel like bringing the energy, not everyone can do that. And if he can, I mean, we've already seen Will Hardy snap because a very talented player didn't rotate on defense. Period, end of story.
Yeah.
It's a pick and roll. They didn't defend a pick and roll the game before. Will was at his wit's end. They start the next game. There's an easy layup and dunk, and Will's calling timeout. I'd have to look 2 or 3 possessions into the game in a minute or 2. And it was Lowry.
Yeah.
Lowry didn't rotate.
Yeah.
Now, also, I don't think the first 2 guys covered themselves in glory with the way, so it's never one person, right? So whether he's the help defender or he's one of the 2 guys, could you slow that thing down a little bit so the guy who's rotating has time to get there?
Yeah.
Not just to be the wet paper towel out there, they just blow right through. So if Conchar can bring that and just basic level skill across the board, maybe that's worth it.
I do wonder if some of his value, though, was because I do believe there has been some chaos in Memphis behind the scenes with Ja, obviously. And I do wonder if John Conchar was an adult in a room that desperately needed adults, and that was his value. And I wonder if that's as necessary in Utah. The answer may be yes. I honestly just don't know.
Could be
Vince Williams Jr., absolutely. $2.5 million, really good defensive player, has some real playmaking chops, rebounds, doesn't need to shoot, but has made some shots in Utah. Hasn't historically made shots.
Right.
Has made shots the last couple of games, and if he can make those.
Long, athletic, rebound. Yeah. Another guy who seems to play with energy. And it's hard to judge that now, I know, with either one of these guys.
Sure. That's always been his reputation, though. Yes, he
right.
plays.
It has been his rep, and we've only seen 3 games. And maybe we're getting the best version of both these guys because they're trying to make, you're trying to make a good impression in a new place. Any of us, when we start a new job, would do that.
The hard part for Conchar and Williams, or what I think will allow them to stick around, is do you do something on the team that nobody else does? I don't know if Conchar does. I know Vince Williams does because he can defend in the backcourt, and Keontae can't, and Isaiah Collier can't, and they don't have another point guard.
So the fit and the need works out there.
With excellent
size. I see where you're going with that.
So, yeah, I think that's going to be his positive.
All right, DJ, and also you can just have enough. You never have enough players.
Yeah.
Maybe you just have to keep them because there's going to be a deal at the next trade deadline of the players you can put in, and the other team will think, hey, they're not great, but they're NBA guys.
Yep.
They're NBA rotation guys, and if no other reason, you keep them around for that.
Yep.
Maybe they got a little something. All right.
Jake and Ben, it's David James filling in. He tried to close the segment, but I wrestled it back from him.
Don't do that. You're going to make me say something. I'm trying to just sit here.
Top 3 stories in KSL Sports coming up next. Jake and Ben, 97.5. Thanks, DJ. The KSL Sports Zone.
It's time to break down the biggest stories of the day. This is the top 3 stories of the day on KSLSports.com. On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. A very happy Thursday to everybody out there. If you're gearing up for a fun Valentine's Day. If you're not, make sure to go check out our friends at J. Brooks Jewelers. J. Brooks will take care of you ahead of the holiday. You can find them online, jbrooksjewelers.com. You can explore their expertly crafted engagement rings made from the finest materials. Cherish your loved ones with J. Brooks Jewelers. They're also responsible for our top 3 stories at KSLSports.com. Christian, where are we starting today?
Number 1, the Jazz beat the Kings G League roster last night. It's their 18th win of the season. Ben, you had been saying that 18 number was pretty low for the Jazz.
Yeah, I think 17.5 was the over-under at some of the big gambling sites or whatever. I think ESPN set it at 18.5. And as soon as I saw that, I don't gamble on sports. I certainly do not gamble on the Utah Jazz, a team I cover. I do not want to end up in prison, but I don't gamble on sports, period. As soon as I saw that number, I thought it was ridiculously low because of how hard the Jazz had to work last year to lose games, and if you just inevitably expected the team to get a little bit better, even before the Walker-Kessler injury, they should have easily cleared it, and they have, and they will. Now, how many more games do they win after losing Jaren Jackson Jr. for the rest of the season, knowing that they should crank up the willingness to tank now to close the season to make sure they hold on to their draft pick, which they will? Are they going to get to 23? I don't know. They might not win. They might not win 5 more games the rest of the year. I think that is possible. I think it's likely they do. I actually think what is happening right now in Milwaukee, where apparently they are deciding they want to try and win games as well, is going to help them. Memphis has probably been more competitive in a few recent games than you would expect. And then you have to watch Dallas as well. We'll talk a little bit more about Dallas coming up here in just a moment. But those are the teams you're paying attention to. And then the one team I think behind you that you're watching, even though credit the Pacers who have won 2 in a row when probably after the trade deadline nobody thought they would do that. I don't know if we're going to see Ivica Zubac, who they traded for before the end of the season. Maybe we will. But the team behind the Jazz that could conceivably pass them is the New Orleans Pelicans. I think New Orleans is sitting on 15 wins right now. Jazz are at 18. The Jazz do play them 3 more times. And as the Jazz totally pull the ripcord on the season and don't try to get to 24, 25 wins, New Orleans, again, does not own their own draft pick. And because they don't own their draft pick, they might as well try and win. And when they play the Jazz 3 times, that's a good opportunity for the Jazz to pick up losses and the Pelicans to pick up some victories. So I think that's what I would be watching if I were a Jazz fan. Teams in front of you, Dallas, Memphis, Milwaukee. Teams behind you, the only one I would think would be the New Orleans Pelicans. And, if you're the Jazz, the best case scenario then I guess would be to drop to the 5th worst record in the NBA. I don't think you're going to be able to get to 4th, but with the 5th worst record in the NBA, you would have a 99.4% chance of holding onto your pick. Not guaranteed, but just about. If you finish with the 6th worst record, you have about a 96% chance of holding onto the pick. Again, pretty strong odds that the Jazz will hold on to it one way or another. I don't think they're going to put it at risk. I think they're smarter than that. I think they know that they've gone through 3.5 years of real difficulty to put themselves in a position to get this pick, get a player like Jaren Jackson Jr. and Ace Bailey, and then exit. The rebuild, that's still the plan next season. And we'll talk about this a little bit more with Chandler Holt, and I'll kind of give you some background information on some things I learned last night. But I will just tell you the feeling around the organization right now, including in the locker room with the players, kind of on and off the record, is just exuberance. Everyone is just so thrilled about what's happening. There's a real energy on the court, off the court. These players are very excited to have this phase of the Utah Jazz, this era of the Utah Jazz coming to an end, and I think you can feel it bursting through the team. We'll talk a little bit more about the Jazz coming up in just a moment. What's next?
Number 2, according to a statement from the Washington County Attorney's Office, BYU wide receiver Parker Kingston was arrested yesterday on suspicion of rape.
Obviously, I don't need to get into moral grandstanding about this. Sexual assault is a scourge, and it's a very scary situation for everybody involved here. According to Mitch Harper, who covers BYU for us at KSLSports.com, BYU football wide receiver was arrested on suspicion of rape, according to a statement from the Washington County Attorney's Office. It's first-degree felony rape in St. George. This happened in February of 2025, so this is over a year old. Apparently, they've been gathering information, and it's really difficult, in my understanding, to make arrests in rape cases because a lot of it is he said, she said. So if they get to a point where you're arrested and you're being held without bail, they must feel like there is certainly some strong evidence in the favor of the police department. So we will see. Again, we have no idea how long this is going to take to play out. BYU just said they were, eyeing the situation and cooperating with whatever they needed to. But the one issue I think here, obviously, other than the felony rape that Parker Kingston is facing, is you don't want this to become BYU's reputation. And that's not fair to say about BYU, but I was at the Jazz game last night when this news broke, and I can just tell you the question you get consistently is what's happening at BYU? And while I don't necessarily think that's fair to say that what BYU is doing is causing this, that's clearly not the case. You can't have this reputation as not being able to control the image of your program. And it's not just football now, because this is the second time a story like this has happened in the last 6 months. You have the baseball player who's been arrested up in Idaho, who I know is a former BYU player and wasn't, I don't believe, active at the time. You have the other player who was flashing outside of the Smith's grocery store. Like, you can't have these types of reputation issues, especially at BYU. And then that's, going to be a part of this. But obviously the more pressing story is being arrested for felony rape, first degree, and being held without bail. So we will keep you updated on that story and find all the coverage at KSLSports.com, especially for Mitch Harper, who I thought had a good breakdown yesterday on Instagram.
And number 3, Cooper Flagg, out with a foot injury. He's going to miss this weekend's events at the All-Star Game. And Ben, guess who is getting called as his replacement?
Yeah, a little surprising. And again, so I talked about the first segment, how he's kind of asking Jaren Jackson Jr., like, what's he up to? Is he doing anything during the break? He did not tell me he was getting knee surgery. I was kind of asking around some of the Jazz people, like, what are you doing during the break? You get some time off finally. And no one was like kind of being square with me about what they were doing. And I just didn't put it together at the time. I thought, people don't have full plans. And now in retrospect, I realized, they probably knew that Ace Bailey was going to be replacing Cooper Flagg in the Rising Stars Challenge coming up tomorrow night in Los Angeles. So they also have to be with him, or somebody has to be with him. So we will see how that goes. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they only learned about it this morning as well. I don't know if I believe that, but no harm, no foul there. Certainly they don't know that to me. But Ace Bailey going to be replacing Cooper Flagg in the Rising Stars Challenge. He's going to get to go out there and compete. The Rising Stars Challenge is probably the worst, other than the celebrity game, and that might be a little interesting because Taylor Frankie Paul is playing in it. If you're a desperate, what's it called? Secret Lives fan
of Mormon Wives.
If you're a Secret Lives fan, you'll want to watch Taylor Frankie Paul. If you like basketball, you don't like any of it because it's not real basketball, either the celebrity game or the Rising Stars Challenge. I will say that Ace is prone to highlight real dunks and plays, and as a result, he could put on a little bit of a show tomorrow in what is otherwise just a great rookie class, and I think good for the Jazz that Ace will be recognized. It is funny, even I saw it last night when Ace is out there with the other young players, and I did not think for a moment this would be the narrative about him. Ace hurts his reputation nationally because he tries to make the right play. If he wanted to be a ball hog, which was his reputation of Rutgers, and just take shots as often as possible, he could score more points. He consistently moves the ball to the right player. He consistently looks to pass as soon as he touches it. And not because he's afraid of shooting. He's a very talented scorer, but he tries to make the right play, and not every rookie does that. Not every young player does that. Not every player on the Jazz does that. And as a result, I'm not sure he gets the shine that he could otherwise. But good for Ace for getting an opportunity to go and play in the Rising Stars Challenge. Again, that is tomorrow night. You can watch it. I believe the game's on Peacock.
At the end of the day, I mean, I know you and Jake were kind of saying it's a good thing that he wasn't picked to the team initially, but there's a lot of people nationally who have not thought about Ace Bailey in Utah since draft weekend, right, and all the controversy. So ultimately, I do think it is a good thing for, as much as people don't like All-Star Weekend, people do tune in, people do watch, and they're going to see Ace Bailey wearing the Jazz on his
whatever
jersey,
the uniform
right?
is. Yeah.
So that is, I think that's a good thing. It's good to have representation.
No, exposure's never a bad thing. If you wanted to take it as a snub, and then he also gets in late, that might be the best of both worlds. He gets to play, and also he got snubbed by the rest of his rookies. The nice thing about Ace is I truly do not think this is affecting his approach. I don't think he tried to do the Karl Malone gets snubbed for whoever it was, AC Green or whatever, and comes out and scores 60 points in the next game, or Darren Williams always got snubbed for the All-Star game and came back and played out of his mind. Good for them if that's what motivates you. I don't think Ace lets a lot of noise distract him, which is
Clearly.
clearly right. I think that's probably gives you some information about how he handled the pre-draft process. I actually think he's more and he's like a 19-year-old and he's funny in the locker room and he's loud but like rambunctious. He's happy to be where he is. I don't think he gets caught up in a lot of the nonsense. He's pretty all ball for a 19-year-old with the background he has as far as being a huge recruit and getting a ton of money to go to Rutgers, I'm sure, and being a top 5 recruit. Those can create a persona that doesn't always help players. In my history of covering the NBA, I don't think it's bothered Ace in the slightest. He really is pretty focused. He's got his eye on the prize. So you'll see him tomorrow night. It is on Peacock, 5 p.m. tomorrow night Mountain Time. All right. Chandler Holt's going to join us coming up at 11 o'clock. We're going to do a big Jazz hour. Excited to do that. But more, maybe we'll check in with the Olympics next. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The sports you love, the teams you can't live without.
Get a sense of urgency!
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Join Scotty tomorrow from noon to 3 at Tim Daly Mazda in Sandy, 10785 South, Auto Mall Drive. Scotty tomorrow from noon to 3 at Tim Daly Mazda in Sandy. Quick update on the Olympics. The Team Canada hockey team is crushing Czechia 5-0. Is the game over? But they are up 5-0 now.
6 minutes left.
6 minutes left in the third, so they're going to crush Czechia. What is not happening is Karel Vejmelka is not getting killed in goal because Karel Vejmelka did not play today. So he is not eating these 6 goals. He was sidelined today, but we'll see if we see him in their next game. And then Team USA will play against Latvia today, coming up at 1:10. I've not seen the lineups yet, so I don't know if Clayton Keller is going to be out there or not. We will probably get that, hopefully before the end of the show. And if we do, we will let you know if you can expect Clayton Keller to be playing. But pretty cool to see Team USA in action amid what's supposed to be the most talented roster for Team USA in several decades. So excited to watch those games for sure. Other big news locally, maybe a change in direction for the University of Utah. Remember last year, I guess it was last year now, they were discussing building a new arena on campus east of where the current Huntsman Center is, kind of up by where Fort Douglas and the student housing is. Seemed like those were the areas they had explored. Mark Harlan yesterday said that maybe they will look at just a facelift, quote-unquote, facelift plus at the Huntsman Center, a renovation plus, to keep the basketball arena in the same spot, but change its functionality, including reducing the capacity from 15,000 seats down to 9,000 seats. Obviously, not filling the stadium has been a big conversation. The arena has been a big conversation around the University of Utah men's basketball team. The women's basketball team draws pretty well, but certainly doesn't fill the stadium, or the arena, excuse me. So I like this idea personally. I had not gotten a real intimate view of the Huntsman Center in some time. But because the Jazz were rebuilding the Delta Center over the summer, they played Summer League up there. And then where we had to do media, we kind of had to get walked through this maze. And I don't know if people have ever gone through the maze, but you have to walk up a tunnel. And then the tunnel is about a mile long. If you joke, what is it, the C gate at the Salt Lake Airport? The B gate at the Salt Lake Airport is the C gate? B gate that's insanely long. Imagine that gate, but it's about the width of 2 doorways. There is a really, really insanely long walkway at the Huntsman Center right now to get up to another larger hallway, which then branches off to offices here and there. And then if you walk another length of the B gate, you get to the practice court. And the practice court's great. It's a high quality facility. It's not on par with what I've seen in the NBA, but it's way more than I think any college would have to have. I think it's a really nice facility. So the idea of having to undo all of that or get rid of all of that would seem silly to me, but I certainly think you could make it more efficient. And I think if you could make the Huntsman Center more intimate, you could really benefit from that. And the big concern I had when they had announced that maybe they were looking at building a new stadium or arena is that that's where people get in trouble. That's where schools get in trouble for spending so much money on a new facility, especially if it's a new facility that's not going to draw. And I don't know what is going to cause Utah men's basketball fans to come back to supporting the program, but just putting them in a new building alone is not going to be good enough. You're going to have to be good on the floor, and you can do that in an old stadium. You can do that, or arena, excuse me. You can do it in a new arena. But you've got to be good first. So I think a facelift is a good idea for the Huntsman Center. We'll see if that ends up being the approach they take.
Do you think the private equity had anything to do with this, or do you think that this was maybe made not adjacent with that decision?
The University of Utah gets to make all the decisions. Ocho Capital is not supposed to be in on any of these decisions. I do suspect, and I would hope this would be the case, that the financials were the biggest draw. And not from Ocho Capital in general, but just saying what's the best way to use our money so we don't burn it up in the wrong spots. And again, the best way to blow through money you don't have is to build an arena or a stadium or a facility that you can't afford and then can't fill. So if you can drop this down to 9,000 and fill it better and have better support and maybe make a little bit more money because there would be some premium seating in here, I think that's the responsible thing to do, even if you don't maybe get the most state-of-the-art approach. But look, the Delta Center is old bones. Now, it's not as old as the Huntsman Center. I mean, the Huntsman Center is ancient by most standards, but the Jazz are getting a lot out of keeping Delta Center and just kind of doing a facelift to it. I imagine there's better technology to do that now than there's ever been. So if they can save the Huntsman Center, it is a great historic building. It's in a good spot on campus. Could certainly use more parking around it. I wouldn't disagree with anyone there, but it's got a great history. So if they can fix that up and make it usable, I think that's the right move. All right, Chandler Holt will join us coming up next. We're going to do an hour of Utah Jazz basketball, including the big breaking news that Jaren Jackson Jr. is undergoing knee surgery. We'll talk about that more. Stick around. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.